Alright guys, so welcome to my channel, welcome to Knot Patterns. So quickly today we're going to learn how to cut a long sleeve. Alright, so for us to cut our sleeve, these are the measurements we're going to be using. We're going to be using a sleeve length, okay, of 21. Alright, let's just use 22, the sleeve length of 22. Now the wrist here, okay, the wrist here is 7.5. all right, and then the bicep okay is 14. all right, now let's go ahead and cut this sleeve. Now guys, first, how do you know how to cut sleeve? How do you know how to fold your fabric so as to cut your sleeve? You will simply divide your bicep by 2 and add 2.5 inches to it. So our bicep here is 14. Divided by 2, you have 7 plus 2.5. That gives you what? 9.5. So we're going to fold this fabric at 9.5. Let me just fold and leave little along this side. So I'm folding by 10 instead, so I'll have half inch along that side. Okay. So that is how you know how wide you fold your fabric to cut your sleeve. That is step 1. Step 1 is folding your fabric. Now, the next step is step number 2. Alright? The step number 2 is getting your sleeve cap. And what is your sleeve cap? Your sleeve cap is simply the depth of the sleeve, which for adults we use 5. Depth of sleeve 5. So that is the depth of the sleeve 5 here. So at this 5, we also measure 5 this way so that we can get a straight line. Okay, 5 here. All right. The next thing is to join this point to this point. Okay. This we are trying to form our sleeve cap now. That is that. All right. And for the length of the sleeve, guys, let's use normal adult sleeve length 24. I said 22, but let's just use 24, right? Let's use 24 for the sleeve. All right, sleeve length. So the sleeve length is 24. But I'll explain something here when we are taking this. So let me just leave the sleeve length for now. Let's finish with the sleeve cap. All right. Now the next thing now, this is the depth of our sleeve cap. The next thing now is our sleeve width. We said our width is 9.5. Remember, we said our bicep is 14 divided by 2 will give you 7 plus 2.5 inches to it. So this is our 9.5 here, right? Let's mark it here. Our 9.5. So this is where our measurement relative to our sleeve will stop. All right. So the next thing is to find the midpoint. Okay. The midpoint of 9.5 is what? That should be 4 3/4. That is the midpoint here, 4 3/4. All right. 4 3/4. So still come here, I'll get the midpoint, which is 4 3/4. all right, so we join the midpoint here, 4 3/4. Now for male sleeve, all right, for male sleeve, this is male sleeve, we are going to just come down here by 2 inches and mark 2 inches from up here, just 2 inches. I will make a mark here, this line here, 2 inches. All right. But if it's a female sleeve, we will get the midpoint of this 5, which is 2.5. All right. But this is a male sleeve. All right. All right. So simply we'll come down here by 2.5. All right. So the next thing here is to keep your French curve this way. All right, and draw this point here to meet with this point here. All right, then we'll turn it this way. Guys, please pay close attention to what I'm doing. Continue from here to here. Now this kind of curve is for male sleeve. All right, now let me show you how you do it if it's female sleeve. If it is female sleeve, you are going to come down here by 2.5. All right, so this is the mark here, 2.5, which is the midpoint. All right, Now this curve will be this way. Just watch carefully. And I'm going to tell you why. This curve will be this way. And this way. Now, why is it so? Very quickly. It is because female sleeve, the curve is deeper than the male sleeve because of the extent which it enters into, it fits to the body. As simple as that. Without wasting time, let's proceed. This is all you need to know about this cutting. So now the next thing is for us to come down to the length of this sleeve. Now there are two ways to cut length of sleeve. If it is cufflinks, look at cufflinks. These cufflinks. It means you are going to minus at least 1.5 inch. Alright? 1.5 inch from the original length of the sleeve. So since this sleeve was, we say we're using 24. Since this sleeve length is 24, if it is cufflinks we are doing, we minus 1.5, that will become what? 22.5. Alright? 22.5. Now, how can we get our 24? The size of this cufflinks is normally 2.5 inches. You understand that? So if you add 2.5 inches to this, 2.5 inches to this 22.5, alright, we'll be having what? We'll be having 25. Do we get 25? So by the time you are joining this to the shoulder, right, and you now remove 1/2 inch here, you are left with 24.5. But most of the times, before joining your sleeve, you have to do a little trimming and so as to get perfect and final finishing. That's why I left it at 24.5. Else you remove 2 inches from these 24 inches. So that when you bring your cufflinks back, if you remove 2 inches to bring 22, when you bring your cufflinks of 2.5 inches, it will go back to 24.5. By the time you are teaching and you hold it by 1/2 inch, it will come back to 24. Do you understand? So because it is cufflinks, we'll simply remove 1.5 inch or 2 inches as you would like based on my explanation. But I remove only 1.5. I like that. Sorry. I like having that excess of 1/2 inch for any emergency. So we'll join this to this. Alright. The next thing is the width of this sleeve. Now we say the sleeve round, because it's cufflinks, the sleeve round is 7.5. And sorry guys, also if this is not cufflinks, it means we are going to use our 24, then add hemming allowance, which might be 2 inches, that will be 26. Do you understand? If it's not cufflinks, just use 24, add hemming allowance. That will be all. So since it's cufflinks, now we say our sleeve, our wrist here, that is the sleeve round. The wrist here, we say this 7.5. If we divide 7.5 by 2, this 7.5. To divide by 2, what you're having here is 3/3. Alright. But remember, there is a split here, This split takes 1 inch. Okay. So I'm going to add that 1 inch. Okay. The next thing is your hemming allowance, which is what? 1/2 inch. We're going to add that 1/2 inch. I prefer using 3/4 inch allowance. That 3/4 inch. So all in all, we're now having what? We're now having 6. Can you see that? We're having 6. That is why you'll be using 6 here as against the 3/4. I hope that is clear. Alright. So the next thing now is to join this point here to this point here. Alright. And I'm going to show us something. Okay. The best way to do this joining. Alright. Now you could keep your tape like this, your rule like this, and draw this line. We have drawn the line, but guys, this is not the best fit for this line. Do you understand? This is not the best fit for this line. That's why you have a French curve. Okay, use your French curve to ensure that you get something better, because this will make the sleeve too big. All right. So how do you use your French curve? Simply keep your French curve like this. Just watch carefully. I'll be using this French curve. There are different French curves, okay? There are different French. If you have the one that is longer than this one, than the one I'm using here, it might be easier for you if yours is longer than this. But since mine is not very long, just watch what I'm going to do. I see this. I'll still turn it. I see this, guys. Very, very easy and straightforward, which means we are cutting on this line. All right, so this is our sleeve cap, this is our bicep, and this is our wrist, guys. So let's cut this out and see how it's looking. Remember we said this is for male sleeve, so I'm going to cut on this outside line. So guys, at this point we can confidently say that we are done with this class. Okay, to enjoy watching this video, guys, hit the subscribe button, turn your notification bell on, so that whenever I drop my videos you will be notified. Thank you so much.